Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Lozak. We are previewing the main card of UFC 180 right now. We're talking with Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsBreaker.com. Nick Kalikas is a professional MMA odds maker and a consultant for numerous sports books on MMA odds making. And we're also talking with Brad Tazchuk, an MMA analyst, also from MMAOddsBreaker.com. All right, guys, Ricardo Lamas, Dennis Bermudez. And, Bermudez is one of these guys who's maybe a little bit under the radar. He's on a 7-fight winning streak, right? And he's kind of like, fighting to get a bigger shot here, and he has definitely gotten bet up at least over the last few days. Right now, Bermudez minus 210. Lamas is plus 160 on the other side, and a few days ago I saw it at minus 170. So I guess people are buying into the winning streak and buying into the talent of Bermudez, even though he hasn't looked necessarily overwhelming through his UFC career so far. He's definitely been getting wins, though. What's your take, Brad Tazchuk? Do you think Bermudez continues to roll here and might be a good bet even at minus 210?
Yeah, I do think he keeps rolling. I kind of thought that the public might give Lamas a little bit more respect. Coming off the Aldo fight, he looked pretty decent there. Didn't get blown out of the water. Obviously picked up the win against Akron Diaz last time out. But I do agree with the public here. I think that Bermudez, overall, his work rate is just insane. The guy keeps up such a crazy pace. His wrestling is so strong. And Lamas is a guy that historically has been able to guys have been able to put him on his back. So I can see Bermudez just coming forward, throwing a high volume of strikes, getting in the clinch, doing some good work there, and dumping Lamas on his back when he needs to get a couple takedowns. So I do like Bermudez, and I think he does take this one by decision.
All right. You think people aren't? I mean, Lamas was a former title contender. I mean, do you think that putting him at a plus 160 dog is maybe a little bit of disrespect to him?
It could be. Like I said, I expected that he might get a little bit more respect here, but it's just in terms of the matchup, I really don't like the matchup for him. Obviously, he's faced a higher quality of competition in the past, but this is just a fight where, as I said, I've seen him put on his back quite a bit in the past. I think that Bermudez is able to do that, and overall, Bermudez is just going to be the far busier fighter. And we know that a lot of times volume, not necessarily effective volume, is what scores with the judges. So we've seen Bermudez get some decisions in the past that maybe he didn't necessarily deserve, and he's got that type of style that can just earn him points on the judges' scorecards, whether he's really fighting effectively or not. So I think that leads him to victory here.
All right, Nick Kalikas, Bermudez tends to be a little bit, overlooked, a little bit on the outside looking in from the top ranks of the featherweights. But obviously the public is not seeing it that way, I'm assuming, because that's what's been driving this line up, right?
Yeah, the MMA bettors definitely know what they're talking about as far as, sometimes in this type of situation. So even if a guy's higher ranked, a lot of times it doesn't mean that he's going to necessarily be the favorite. And this is one of those scenarios as well. I actually opened Bermudez minus 185, and it's bet back. You said it was 170, so it did get some. We did get some early action on Lamas, then it bounced back up, and again, parlay action. Everything else is kind of drawing the line up even more. I wouldn't be surprised if this is another spot that kind of gets bet down as we get closer to fight time as well. Because both of them are so talented. I mean, honestly, I think Lamas is the more technical fighter of the two for sure. He's a skilled fighter. He's improving his overall game. I think a lot of people didn't think that he would do as well against Aldo as he did. So you got to give him credit there. I mean, he fought the man, and he hung in there, didn't get finished. And the question with both these guys a little bit, I mean, Bermudez doesn't have any official knockouts on his resume, and Lamas does. But both of them have kind of what suspect chins at times. I mean, Lamas has been put out, like I said, and Bermudez gets rocked and almost put out several times, but he has that quick recovery time. So even if you do rock the guy, he's just hard to get rid of. So I think that Bermudez is probably going to do enough to grind out a decision win here as well. But man, at the current price and laying that kind of juice on, honestly, a toss-up type of fight, it's another dog or pass situation. This is a similar fight to the last fight we were just talking about. I think that, the dog is probably getting a little bit underrated here, but at the same time, I mean, the favorites are favored in this spot for a reason, and they should kind of edge things out. But as far as pure betting value goes, I'm not sure you lay 2 to 1 against a very competitive fight. And I say it every time we tape, basically, how bad the MMA judges are. I mean, how can you trust these guys? Lay 2 to 1 on a competitive fight, which we all know should be fairly competitive.
So then you do think then that Lamas is getting maybe a little bit disrespected at plus 160?
I do. I think that this is going to be another barn burner. It's going to be a competitive fight. I mean, let's not forget Bermudez has had his share of close fights recently as well that he kind of squeaked by. He's been on a nice streak here, but definitely his fight against Holloway, a lot of people question that fight. His fight against Grice was close as well. So he's had some really interesting fights, and Lamas can definitely hang and be in that category as well. So yeah, I do think he's getting a little bit disrespected. But as far as UFC matchmaking goes, I'm sure they would prefer a guy like Bermudez to get a solid win, another solid win on his resume before they push him towards a title shot.
Well, Brad Tastruck, back to you then. Nick seems to be implying that it's either dog or pass for him at the current lines, and I think that's the way I'm feeling as well. But you're disagreeing? You actually think that it's either Bermudez or pass at this line?
Yeah, I think at this current line, I'd pass for sure. But if I had to make a bet here, I'd probably go with Bermudez, maybe throw him in a parlay, with Fabricio Verdum when that price comes down, as I said earlier.
All right, so so if you had to make a bet, you'd take Bermudez. You wouldn't take a shot with a total or a prop?
I do think the fight goes to decision, but you look at Bermudez's last fight. Everyone thought that Clay Guida fight was going to go to decision, and he put Guida away pretty easily. So he does have power, as Nick said. Both guys do kind of have questionable chins, so. The prop or the total here, the over, does scare me a little bit.
Yeah, especially at the big line right now. Over 2.5 is minus 210 at 5 dimes. All right, well, some dissension here. It's a little bit of disagreement. I think I'm mildly agreeing with Nick's position that it's either Lamas or pass at plus 160. But it'll be an interesting fight. Thanks, guys.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.